US President Joe Biden has promised to slash his nation's greenhouse gas emissions in half by 2030 as the leaders of 40 countries gathered online overnight for the Earth Day summit. Now, the US pledge nearly doubles the last commitment made under the Obama administration, while the world's largest carbon emitter, China, promised to begin phasing out coal altogether between 2026 and 2030.
Prime Minister Scott Morrison also addressed the summit overnight, but he's made no new pledges, saying Australia is on the pathway to net zero emissions through new technologies. Our North America correspondent Barbara Miller joins us now from Washington. Good morning, Barbara. So this is a huge commitment we're seeing from the US, especially after the Trump administration withdrew from efforts to cut emissions.
Good morning, that's right. And Joe Biden, on his first day in office, signed back up to the Paris Climate Agreement. This summit was important to Joe Biden. He's held it within his first 100 days in office, and he knew that he had to come out with a big and bold pledge to try and convince the world that the US was back after those Trump years. He's done that. He said by 2030, the US will aim to reduce its greenhouse gas emissions by between 50 and 52% on 2005 levels. People have been hoping, climate scientists, for at least a 50% target. That's now at least 50 up to 52%. Joe Biden said there was a moral imperative to act, and he said that the science was undeniable. But he's also trying to sell this, of course, to the American public, and he's saying that there are opportunities in this and that a cleaner, greener future will also involve the creation of more jobs. But he says, well, look, while the US is responsible for 15% of harmful emissions, the rest of the world is responsible for the other 85%, and he's asking other countries to follow suit.
No nation can solve this crisis on our own, as I know you all fully understand. All of us, and particularly those of us who represent the world's largest economies, we have to step up. You know, those that do take action and make bold investments in their people and clean energy future will win the good jobs of tomorrow and make their economies more resilient and more competitive.
President Biden also pressed the need for other countries to set ambitious targets. There was a lot of pressure on Australia going into the summit. What did the Prime Minister say? Well, the Prime Minister stuck to his line that targets are not a good idea. Of course, Australia does already have a target, 26 to 28% reduction on 2005 levels by 2030. The Prime Minister did not increase that. He said that Australia was moving towards net zero emissions, but he said it wasn't a question of when that would happen, but how. And the Prime Minister says that the way to do this is to invest in technologies rather than to introduce taxes or targets. He picked up on the hydrogen issue. There was that announcement of investment in hydrogen hubs earlier in the week, and he said that that would ensure that Australia really was at the forefront of cleaner, newer technologies.
Our ambition is to produce the cheapest green hydrogen in the world at $2 per kilogram Australian. Mr. President, in the United States, you have the Silicon Valley. Here in Australia, we are creating our own hydrogen valleys, where we will transform our transport industries, our mining and resource sectors, our manufacturing, our fuel and energy production.
And Lisa, Australia was the 21st nation to be afforded the opportunity to speak at the conference. That's of 27 who did speak in that session. Australia came after Bhutan, for example. So I think that's an indication of how important, I guess, the US sees Australia in this at the moment when Australia is not prepared to up its ambition. The focus now turns to the COP26 conference this November in Glasgow, Scotland. And US officials are telling us they really hope that Australia will increase its targets by that time.
Barbara Miller, thank you.